safe bet in general. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
sure.
ahead and get me a bowl of Frosted Flakes. So I put the Frosted Flakes in the bowl, and then I grab the milk and I go to start pouring the milk, and I notice, man, this milk, like it's not cold. Like the carton that I'm holding,
Mm-hmm.
it's not cold on my fingers. That's kind of weird. And I pour it, and then I go to start eating it, and I realize it's not cold in my mouth either.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm like, oh my gosh, why is this milk not cold? Did they leave it out overnight? And I don't ask it because they're
Right.
sitting there, and I'm like, well, anyway, it was so hard to eat room temperature, like cereal with room temperature milk.
Yeah, I
And
can.
then
I don't think I've ever done that.
we get in the car, and we start to head out, and I asked Pastor Chris, I'm like, was that milk room temperature? He goes, oh yeah, they don't have refrigerators. Most homes don't have a refrigerator
Wow.
in Germany. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, you just like most homes here don't have a refrigerator. Some of them have a freezer, but most of them don't even have a refrigerator. It's just like, what the heck? And then so that's the
Wow.
thing. Like, I don't know how. I mean, I didn't do any research and figure it out, but like, I don't. I guess if milk's not processed in a certain way, you don't have to refrigerate it. It just goes from the udders to the table. I don't know.
Right. That's wow.
Um,
Huh.
but definitely my stomach was pissed. It was like,
Your stomach would not agree. Your stomach
what
did
are
not
you
agree with that.
doing eating this? Like, uh, so that was food, and then so then we headed to the conference, the summit, 2.5 hours away, and I thought that the Autobahn was like just one strip of road in Germany.
Mm.
It's like a 30-mile strip or a 40-mile strip. Do y'all know what the Autobahn is?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So the Autobahn is the interstate system, the entire system. So if you say like we're gonna get on the highway,
Mm-hmm.
that's the same. Like over there, that would just be getting on the Autobahn. It's not just one road, it's all
All
of
of
the
them.
roads,
Okay. Okay.
is the Autobahn. And so I didn't realize that. So we leave there flat, and within 60 seconds, we're on the Autobahn. And the guy that's driving us like, welcome to the German Autobahn. And I'm like, wait, this is the Autobahn? And mind you, we are in a Dacia, which I don't even know who makes it, but it's not a high-end car by any
Right.
means. It's a small minivan, essentially. And the guy that's driving us is a psychopath. I didn't know this at the time, but I learned it. And we're
Oh
on and we're on a road that has no speed limit. And
God.
so I've got a photo of us doing 200 kilometers an hour, which is
Oh,
about like 125
right.
miles per hour,
Oh.
and being passed. And the dude driving while he's going 200 kilometers an hour is just having a casual conversation with us. And like like sometimes when you're driving and you got somebody in the passenger seat, you'll look over at them and
Yeah,
like make
sure.
eye contact while you're talking. He's doing that. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
At
200 miles an hour.
200
I'd be like,
kilometers an hour, I need hands at 10 and 2, and you can talk to me, but look forward, man. But he was just full sending it. And while he's doing that, I'm like educating myself on the Autobahn. And it's very fascinating. Like they're the amount of deaths on the Autobahn compared to our interstate system, like on a per capita basis, is insanely low.
that's crazy.
Um, and it's attributed to a few things. One, there is not a pothole in all of Germany.
Mm,
Because their taxes are like a little over 50%,
yeah,
and in
they're blue,
return
very
they
liberal.
yeah, in return, they get crazy health care, they get good
Right.
benefits, they get great maternity and paternity leave, and they get really, really smooth roads. Um, and so that road is just really well paved. But then also other reasons that it's just kind of safe is that in order to get a driver's license in Germany, it's somewhere around $2,000.
Holy crap!
Yeah, and then over here you have to take your initial driving test at 16 years old, 17 years old, and then you never have to take a driving test again. You just
Right.
renew it. Over there you have to take a test every few years, and so
Wow.
the barrier of entry is really high. You have to regularly test, and then gas is so expensive in Germany that it's kind of a luxury to even be able to travel by car. Most people travel by bike or by foot, especially
My foot.
close to cities. Well, because it's kind of like in the cities, it's so densely populated, you don't need a car. You just get a job close to where you can walk. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like your living location is determined by your job.
that's
So
crazy.
like so like for you, you have your house, up there on up there, by Stone Oak or wherever in the north. Like if you were in Germany, you would basically be pigeoned into buying a house there in the medical center. Like
Mm-hmm.
that would be your choice. You would
Right.
have to buy a house close enough to where you can walk or ride a bike, unless like in certain areas, like I said, it's kind of just more of a luxury to have a car. And tons of people over there have a car, but that
Right.
was
Right.
like what Niels, our driver, was telling us. Is like that's one of the ways you can kind of determine people's wealth is if they have a car, and if they drive
Mm-hmm.
drive around rather than get driven around. So
Mm-hmm.
really smooth road, high barrier of entry, and then regular like training
Checkups.
or
Yeah.
checkups makes it like to where the drivers are there are pretty skilled and the roads are obviously in good condition. Then it's like as sketchy as it was being in the back of this minivan going 200 kilometers an hour, like apparently it's not that sketchy.
Oh gosh. And then how was
So
the
then from
summit?
there we go to the summit, and it was mostly all in German. We had a translator, but it was fine. It was more like our presence was more a display of like support. Like
Right.
we're gonna partner with this organization. We want to get on board with y'all are doing, and we're gonna fly all the way from Texas to show you like, hey, we're in. We're in on this. We're not just like
Mm-hmm.
some. Oh yeah, tell me what you're all
Oh yeah,
about. Maybe
sure.
we'll get on board. Like no, we're in. And so they really appreciated that. And then, um, we just kind of every time there was a segment that was going to be 100% German and not translated, we kind of were like allowed to dismiss ourselves, and then
Mm.
just you know go get a little rest, shut eye in the waiting room. Or what I did is I just walked around because like the town we were in was pretty good sized town, and I can because everything is so walkable over there.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of walked to a couple of gas stations, which they call kiosk, and then I walked to this other like cafe, and it kind of just got to see a little bit. And then for lunch that day, we had potato soup.
Mm.
So very, common food there with what they called bacon in it. It wasn't bacon, it was ham. I think that's a European thing in general. They call ham bacon, but it's just they're wrong. Had bread at that meal once again. Had room temperature liquid of any choice. You can have water.
Could have been choice.
Because they have water, which is not what I would drink because
Right.
their version of water has bubbles in it.
Oh
Um,
boy.
so they had flat water, which is what I was drinking, which is just water.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they have other like nectars and juices, but it's just everything's just room temperature. They
That
like
is
I didn't
crazy.
see an ice cube the whole time. Um, anyway, rest of the conference, and then we race back on the autobahn, get home, and it's the same meal, same exact meal as night one. Bread, different types of processed meat, different types of spreads, different types of cheese. Make your own sandwich, and it was just like it was not very good. The bread was really good, but the
Right.
meal itself wasn't
Right.
was nothing special.
Right.
Next morning, I
Were
had an
they
apple.
kind of having like? Would you notice the other people eating? Were they having like a similar spread every time, or did they
Yeah,
kind of like,
yeah.
hey,
No, they had a pattern. They had a
they had a
pattern.
pattern? Yeah.
She had a some sort of a spread that said India on it, and it looked like it had a lot of spices in it. It looked like a butter with a bunch of stuff in it, type of deal.
Okay.
And then he had a spread that physically had the appearance of tartar sauce,
Hmm.
kind of real clumpy like that. But I'm hoping it wasn't tartar sauce. Um, but yeah, they definitely had a pattern on that.
Hmm.
I mean Sunday morning, I just had an apple for breakfast, and then we went to the church service and both preached there a little bit, which was so hard because you can only like do one sentence and then your translator translates it, and you do another sentence and your translator translates it. So it just takes a long time to
Wow.
get much out. And I would say maybe 70% of Germans understand English.
Hmm.
Um, so you would say what you would say, and you would get like either just some sort of sometimes like a
Reaction.
verbal or a physical reaction
Yeah.
from like most of the group, and then your translator translates it, and then you get like from the other half. Anyway, that was that was kind of a challenge in itself. And then afterwards, we had coffee in a waiting area, and then
How was
that's
the
the day we
coffee?
actually. So that's the other thing. I haven't mentioned coffee yet, but coffee is consumed in abundance.
Mm.
It is consumed at anywhere and everywhere. all the time. Like here, it's like, hey, you want some coffee or not? No, there it's here, have some coffee, and they would just kind of hand it to you, and that's the thing. And so, it was good coffee everywhere. Like I'm kind of a white girl. I like my coffee cold and sweet.
Yeah.
And over there they drink it hot and bitter.
Mm.
And so it was, Pastor Chris, he drinks coffee kind of that way, and he said it's good coffee, but
Yeah.
I'll have to take his word for it. I drank it the whole time, and I was just like kind of trying to adjust to drinking hot black coffee, and so
Mm.
I couldn't tell you if it was any good because I have nothing to compare it to. I don't drink it that way over here.
Right. Right.
But it was just like everywhere we went, there's just coffee. There's coffee everywhere, and everywhere that served coffee in public also served beer.
Hmm.
So you kind of waiting in line, you're looking at the menu, and your options are hot, hot black coffee or cold beer. And that's the only thing that I ever saw anybody drink cold over there was beer.
Oh, so they found the freezer for that,
That's right.
huh?
Yep.
Not the milk.
The pastor that hosted us, like our host home, he was a pastor of a church. He Saturday night he wanted to review the conference with us because he didn't go to it. So he wanted us to review it with him and help him make plans and stuff. And as we were gonna go, and he also wanted to watch the Hamburg versus Berlin game, and so
Mm.
we're gonna head to the third floor of the flat. And as we're headed up there, he grabs a beer from me, Pastor Chris, and himself. And it's like the night before. I mean, it's Saturday night. Like
Right.
Pastor Chris was just like, "No, I'm sorry." He said any other night besides Saturday night, and I'll have a beer with you, but not on Saturday night, getting ready for Sunday morning. I don't want to do that. And so,
Mm.
but that was just so common over there. Like over
Interesting.
here, especially like in like religious circles, like it's kind of got this taboo about it. And over there, it was like, dude, these after church, these people were just like, yeah. So what are y'all doing the rest of the day? I'm like, oh, well, we're gonna go into Hamburg and see it a little bit. Oh, okay, well, grab a couple beers and just walk around and go down to the
Walk
harbor
around.
and it was just like over there, it's just a different culture than over here around drinking.
Alcohol, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we did. We went into Hamburg Sunday afternoon. It was unfortunate. It was pouring down rain.
Ugh.
It was just not super great. It was super cold. We had maybe like a 45 minutes or an hour where it was nice. Like,
Mm.
and by nice, I don't mean actually nice, but like not raining. And we got to take some photos and see a few things. Big old Lutheran church and the harbor area. But then it started raining, so we saw most of the city from the window of a car.
Right. Right.
Um, they got back to the house, and then they made dinner again. And this time it was what I would describe as a pizza, but um, instead of like a red marinara sauce, it had some sort of like creamy, very, very flavorless sauce. Like maybe it was a mixture of like mayonnaise and butter. I don't really know. And it didn't have cheese on it. It just had onions and what they would call bacon. They didn't call it a pizza, but it was round and it looked like a pizza. It was awful. Everything was bad.
Lawful.
Like the potato soup wasn't bad per se, the thing
Right.
we had at the summit, but like in comparison to my wife's potato soup, it was awful. And it's just like even when we were out in Hamburg, I was like trying to like look for a cool place to get something to eat, and I want to try something. I want to try a bratwurst or something.
Right. Right.
And there's just not a whole lot of like restaurants over there.
Mm.
And I asked about that, and they said, yeah, we don't eat the same way y'all do. Like y'all eat for recreation, for
Yeah.
fellowship, for community. Like if you're gonna hang out with your friends, you're gonna do it at a restaurant or something like that. Over here, we just eat when we're hungry, and we eat just to get power, is what they called it, like energy.
Energy. Yeah.
And we just that's it. Like we don't do it the way you do it. So there's not a lot of places over there that like are about the ambiance and a kind of like, oh man, that's a cool idea. Let's get a little Asian barbecue fusion restaurant, or
Mm-hmm,
let's
mm-hmm.
like come up with this restaurant or that restaurant. Like over there, it was just very practical. Just put calories in your body. Doesn't matter what it tastes like, and then
Might as well be bread.
that was it. Yeah, and so that was kind of odd. Um, and then Sunday night we went to bed, and then we had a 5 a.m. flight, so that was
5
kind of the end
a.m.
of the trip.
How's the trip back?
Trip back was fine. It was a little better than the trip over there.
Mm.
Because it was done mostly in like, because 5 a.m. wake up, 1 hour flight from Hamburg to London, 10-hour flight back. That was all during the day, so I was like napping a little, but mostly just watching movies, and um, the flights weren't too packed, so it was pretty decent. But
Yeah.
I do have a bunch of notes that I wrote down to
Yeah,
share with anybody that asks.
yeah.
But first, we have a match.
We do, we do. We do. El
Yeah.
Clasico strikes again. At Milton Keynes, England. Home of the Dons. Chelsea trying to come in. See if they can get a point. But MKD, they're hoping to exact revenge here for the earlier Premier League loss that they had at Stamford Bridge. And we'll see how it goes. And they're off. New signing Tonali in here, Coach Bill. Coach Bill, what can you tell us about
You
the new
know,
signing?
I believe Stephen.Andrew is maybe the best player in the world, and he is down and out for probably the remainder of the season. Um, and so we needed to make some moves. We had some young guys in the pipeline, but if we want to make some decisions that help us win now, we needed to make a move. And so for $120 million, we bring in Tonali coming in from Milan, from Italy. He has posted a 7.08 or higher rating for the last 8 seasons
Mm.
in Serie A over in Milan. So, quality player, great history there. Just produced it at a quality level, and I believe he'll be able to not quite be a lateral transition from Stefan, but not give us too much of a drop off. And we still have Gustavo Melendez in backup in that role, which
Mm-hmm.
is the Mexican wonder kid. And so but we needed a little bit more depth there.
Fair play. Yep, only having one roaming playmaker that you can trust. Nod down means pretty scary proposition there. So I think that was a necessary move that thankfully
Now
he's built the capital to do it for.
he is 29 years of age.
Mm.
Kind of goes against the grain there for what MK Dons would do, but given that you know time's running out here, I wasn't as worried about that. He a little different than Nod in the sense that he is his next best role is a little bit more of a true midfielder. So
Mm.
Nod is basically a center back playing defensive midfielder, and
Mm.
then Tonali is a little bit more of a midfielder asking to play back. So he might provide more in attack, but definitely less in defense.
Mm-hmm. Well, Yona, as I call him, Yoda, with the
Oh,
cross. Oh, nice header from Bartram, El Capitan of MKD. So far, end to end
uh-oh.
here.
Cargo. Oh,
Escarcega.
uh,
Havertz would like to have that one back.
so far no shots yet for the MK Dons.
Well, that is true. Escargot.
Oh,
Oh, great tackle from Harrison Good. Who takes the dog on a
uh-oh.
walk here. Pretty
Sergeant to
aggressive.
Bertram. Oh, this is good spacing here.
Oh, Medi. Ah,
Yeah,
there he is.
yeah.
Yep. Eminem.
A lot of
Just
open
like that.
space there.
I think
Yep.
I would say Harrison Good deserves a lot of credit because he brought the ball out a long way, created space, kept the ball for most of the time there. And that kind of caused the confusion for marking for Chelsea. Like, hey, what are we supposed to do here?
Right?
And Eminem takes advantage.
Uh-oh. Cassiano.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
Not a
just
great
slides
showing
it on by.
from
You would
Versick
think that
there.
Joe Shiesty would get to that one.
Yeah, you don't think so. He hasn't been the same guy that he was in that Bristol City jersey.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Has to be yellow, right? Oh, my
Red.
God.
A straight red. We're at home.
Wow.
We are at home.
Oh, I gotta tune in. I gotta start tuning in.
We are at home.
MK Dons at home up 2-0 on Chelsea. And Luis Enrique with the straight red.
The fans are not liking that move against their rival,
Mm,
Chelsea. They are throwing debris on the field, making sure
that's
their
right.
opinion is known to the ref.
The ref has to be in Chelsea's pocket for that. That was insane.
Chance of ref, you suck. Ref, you suck.
I don't think they'd say that in England, but yes, I agree. If they were in America, they would say that.
They on the spot created a custom chant. I'm not gonna be able to do one, but
I know, it's like a full song. A chorus and a bridge.
Goodness, man. That's just atrocious.
I know, that is tough. We're going to have to see how Chelsea, still down 2-0 here. So, can MKD hold on?
Well, MKD keeps the same defensive formation. They just to go ahead and take off one of their shadow strikers, hoping to hold on, knowing that maybe tacking on a third isn't going to be reality.
Mm-hmm. Be a wise choice there, a wise choice. Picoto. Oh, well, doesn't get the ball
McNulty.
away. McNulty.
Okay, here we are in
McNulty.
the
Mohamed
stoppage time.
Viel. Mohamed Viel. Oh!
Oh, baby! Martin
Oh!
gets a boot on it.
Whew, barely. But a save is a save.
Escargot.
And DLS, of course, rises up. And that is halftime.
Big tail after that red card. Chelsea's gotten a spike in XG here.
Yep.
Dang, MK Don scored on .66 twice.
There you go. Hey.
Hey.
Made up stat. Made up stat.
Joe Bursick is smiling at you, Bear.
Why has he played?
Because both my other goalkeepers are hurt. The guy I just signed, Diogo Costa's hurt, and Henderson's hurt.
Well,
So, not ideal. But, injuries happen. It happens. And we kick off the second half here. Yona.
Don't know what to throw in.
Back to Bavone. Back to Havertz. Oh, a good tackle from DLS. But Havertz.
Another good tackle from DLS. Wow.
Relentless
Zaki.
DLS.
Oh my gosh, we're just laying it out there.
The spikes are up according to Coach Billy Mack here. I think he may have had a hand in that red card there. Hey, just go for it. Be aggressive.
They're playing for their boy Luis.
Oh, wait a second. Oh.
I get the assist for that. Picato gets the assist.
I think Picoto does. Action assist there. And now it is 2-1.
in striking distance for Chelsea here in the second half.
Oh, Fabio Luis, the free kick. Oh my God, Bursick. Jeez, man.
The whiff on the header.
The whiff on the header too. Oh my gosh, man.
Wow.
What are we doing? Well, 62 minutes gone. Yep, I guess it would be time for both coaches to take a look at the bench. See who's available. Who can come in here? Who needs a blow?
We're going to see the cap, Anthony Bartram, come off in favor of the young Moses Obina. Bartram's having a great game, but coming off, recovering back from an injury. He's feeling the fatigue. And then Eminem is going to move out of the advanced forward position and drop down into the wing. And then Freddie D is going to come in as the forward. So Jean Jacques Sargent will be off the pitch.
There you have it. Yep, 3 subs as well. McNulty, at least I recall that McNulty had an incredible game against MKD in the previous meeting at Stamford Bridge. I think he scored a goal and just had a lot of tackles, but so far today, through 62 minutes, he's got a 6.3.
Ooh.
So maybe
Yep,
that was a
not-
flash in the pan. I'm going to be subbing him out. I've seen enough. And putting in the new signing, who's older, another old guy. Kimpembe is supposed to replace Militao, 34 years young. Also, Ismael Pavone be replaced with Nardi and Fabio Guerrero, who's posting a 6.4. He's going to be replaced with Sergio Sanchez. See how that goes.
Empty. The bench is clear for these subs.
That's right. All the subs are out here. I mean, both teams understand the importance of this game.
Yeah, so do the rest, apparently.
And so do the refs. That's
The entire
Cargo.
team.
Oh! Marato,
was-
almost. Well, I mean, MK Dons 10 minutes away from holding on here, which, given the circumstances, would be a great result. And they got,
Hold the line.
with that goalkeeper and that defense, it's possible.
Oh, and they do it.
And they do it. There
They
you
do
have
They
it.
hold the line, baby.
Hold the line. An excellent game from Eminem, who is player of the match with a goal. I guess how did he do the first goal? First goal.
Yep.
But yep, Fabio, all those three guys up front really had a great game. A bit harsh on the match ratings for the defenders there. They were under a lot of pressure through 70 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Good posting a 6.4. I mean, I have eyeballs. That wasn't a 6.4 performance.
7.2 miles running for Harrison Good, too, as a center back. Woo!
Yeah.
And I think for Chelsea, you just have to look at that goalkeeper rating of 6.3 and just kind of have to wonder, man. The first goal I thought was pretty well done, but the second one to get beat at the near post, that's just.
Yeah, with the
That's
ball
painful.
with not a whole lot of velocity. I mean,
Yep.
really, it was just kind of rolled right in there.
Yep, but. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. But GG, that was good.
GG.
Unfortunate red card. I don't know how that happened.
That's weird. Don't appeal. Don't appeal. Let it go.
We want to appeal. We want to appeal. How'd it go for Bristol City? Remember FA Cup?
Lost 1-0 to Arsenal. Damn it, Arsenal.
Damn you, Arsenal. That's right. Well, with that victory, that does keep MKD at the top of the table. Liverpool with the win, though, staying in, within 2 games, 6 points back. Chelsea do drop to 5th with that, with Newcastle did get the win there. But respectable. Upcoming matches against Wolves, where they'll hope to get back on track. Oh, it was an extra time, too, Bear. 33rd minute.
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Extra time goal. I'm the favorite, 11-10 favorite to Leeds. That's
To Leeds?
Yeah, against Leeds.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, I mean, that's a big game for you.
Huge game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Are you
11 to
home?
10. I mean, the bookie. Why are the odds this
Bookie
far?
knows something. The bookie knows something.
Never vote
Both
against
my left
Vegas.
backs are injured, so it'll be tough.
All right.
So how's your jet lag?
I didn't have any. The trip was too short.
I think Tipper's probably too short.
Well, over on that side, I didn't sleep very well. I don't know if it was from the jet lag time change, or if it was from the piece of stone I was sleeping on.
I was about to say, how was the what was the sleeping arrangement like there? Yeah.
Well, so they're like they're just so much more like modest and frugal on everything, including their houses.
Mm.
Um, and so like the family we were staying with would have been like on the upper end of middle class,
Wow.
middle to upper, yeah, mid to mid to upper middle class type of family, right? So they're not poor by any means,
Right.
and their house was still their flat was still quite small. It was, I think he said it was like 42 feet by 22 feet, but then it's 3 stories tall.
Hmm.
So like the like if you're at Sean's house, it would be from his like refrigerator all the way to the opposite wall of it,
Hmm.
kind of at the other end of almost where his TV is, and then upwards 3 stories. It's like it was just kind of like a skinny,
Hmm.
small area, and the downstairs was the dining, and the kitchen, and then the second floor was the bedrooms, and then the third floor was the living room or the
Oh
entertainment
wow.
space. And so
Interesting.
it was just a little different. And so sleeping wise, they had like a twin size bed and then a rollout like Murphy bed underneath that. So I slept on essentially a cot,
Mm.
which I mean I'm pretty like flexible on sleeping. I sleep pretty well anywhere. But each time I found myself awake at like 3:30 in the morning and
What was the
texting
temperature
Caleb
like
because
inside? Did they have like any heater running or
yes,
anything?
yeah,
Or?
most houses over there have heaters. Very few of them have air conditioning.
Mm.
Um, and we just cracked the window if it got too hot. I mean, it was comfortable over there, sure,
Okay.
but yeah. So I didn't
Gotcha.
sleep super well over there, but I slept really well when I got back. Like I haven't woken up right at my normal 6:45 every morning since I got back, so I haven't had to really do much adjusting.
Mm. Yeah, I wonder if yeah, just because you were there for
I think,
2 days.
yeah, I think it was just too short of a trip for me to ever acclimate.
Mm-hmm. Your body's just like, well, that was a weird 2 days. Okay, back to normal.
Yeah, seriously.
Because Sean and I both had, yeah, it was not fun. The jet lag.
Yeah,
Yep.
Not thrilled about it. Because how long are you gonna be there when you go for the longer time?
10 days
Yeah.
if I go.
World News: Mac could leave MK Dons.
And if they're smoking that good stuff for who?
I don't. The Galacticos or what? Team World manager?
Yeah,
I have
I
no
don't
idea.
understand.
Rumors.
Oh, his contract is up at the end of the season.
Oh. People are starting to ask questions.
Uh, why hasn't there been a new contract?
Well, I
Because the
haven't.
world ends, damn it.
They don't know that. Shh. Oh, Leeds. Bill goes to fourth place Newcastle. That's a tough game for Bill.
Yep, yep.
And I host 20th ranked Bournemouth, so not a tough game.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if I'm going to be able to make it back to the trip over there in July just because
Mm.
our daughter's going to be 6 weeks old
Oh yeah, that's true.
at that time. And so Kayla wouldn't, Kayla would let me go, but I don't know if I would want to. I don't
Mm.
know. Crappy situation there on that. So I don't know if I'm going to go.
Yeah.
But me going on this trip would still helpful because I can kind of train.
Right, getting what
Those,
some people what to expect, kind of thing.
right.
God.
All right. Other noteworthy things about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wrote down. The housing over there is so much different than ours. Mostly everything where I was at least was multi-unit housing. Um, so again, we would call it apartments, but
Hmm.
over there, it's just normal. It's just standard. I think that's probably like pretty akin to any of our cities as well.
Yeah.
But like those like suburbs, like where Sean lives, stuff like that just didn't exist over there.
Mm.
That's just not a good use of space. And if you have a like if you spread your people out by that much, it just makes it to where the idea of traveling by foot or bicycle isn't possible.
Yeah.
It's like to go from Sean's house to that gas station, that's like to walk or bike there, that's a freaking trek.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if everybody in that subdivision lived in just like 4 apartment buildings, that gas station can just be right there. You know what I mean? And so they design it that way intentionally. And then on the same topic of like multi-unit housing, it was one of the conversations I had with Pastor Frieder about like just the development and stuff there, is the government has like pretty much full control over
Mm.
what gets built where. And we have some of that here, right, with zoning. Some stuff's zoned as
Yeah.
residential or commercial or industrial, but like down to like, oh, you're gonna build a multi-unit complex here. Okay, what's it gonna look like? How many units?
Mm.
What's it what like? How much are you gonna charge for it? That sort of thing. And so the place that we stayed in, New Mall, which is like southeast of Hamburg, it had 25,000 people in it, and it was like 6 square miles. It's a small place,
Hmm.
but it's a whole community, and they have like a bunch of parks, and we would describe it just as like one suburb, but that was their whole community there, and like you can walk in a pretty short amount of time from one side to the other of this community, and there's 25,000 people living in it. And he was telling me like was it was created like in the late 80s, early 90s because like the officials there in Hamburg were like, all right, where are we gonna, we're city's growing a lot. Where are we gonna move to next? And they just
Mm.
like created this whole like the government created this whole like community, built enough housing for 25,000 people, and then allowed people to start moving in. So it's kind of way different than here. It would just be a private investor or developer that would
Yeah,
do all that.
yeah, for sure.
So it was just kind of interesting, like all the area, even like when they were there showing us the harbor in different areas, like they were always like attributing some of like the new developments to the government. They're like, yeah, the government um, like made this little district, or the government like took these old warehouses and turned them into shops, and like they kept crediting the government for all the development there, whereas we would just say like, oh yeah, some rich investor made the pearl here
Right.
at San
Yep.
Antonio, or the quarry, or whatever. Like nobody credits that to the city of San Antonio, but
Right.
there they were crediting all those things to the city of Hamburg, which um, to me connected the dots that like the local city and governments are really the
Powerful.
ones that are
Yeah.
controlling those things, allowing those things, giving permission. I'm gonna call Kayla back real quick.
Sure. That's crazy. How's your game going, Bear?
It's got. I'm getting. Gotta throw a water bottle here. It was in 1-0 at halftime.
Mm. Ooh, how cold that was. Damn. Paul Simon. Paul Simon with no goal. Intermezzo thing for Iran, huh? That's wild.
Yeah, it's a whole weird
That's a
sort of
whole
situation.
game right there.
Yeah, the whole mini game, decisions to make, and everything.
Yeah, it's like now I'm looking at that, taking over that throw, and it's kind of like, bruh, there's a lot that comes with this. It is any old empire.
Oh, freaking Martin Vandervoort made a mistake.
Ugh,
Rare
rare.
mistake.
He goes to clear it, and he clears it straight into the face of Giancarlo Valdez. Oh well, we'll just keep scoring.
There you go. Let's outscore him.
Yeah. Um.
What are the notes?
Okay, so everything over there is really, really well built. It's very just like robust, and so you know, like in y'all's house, in your, any of the interior doors, not the exterior doors, but any of the interior doors, once you close it, you can grab the knob and like pull it, and there's gonna be some play, right?
Yeah.
And like shake a little bit or whatever. Over there, the interior doors, like from the freaking hallway to the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
when it closed, it like launched and it was closed. And the doors were like 4 or 5 times the weight of our doors. Like they were
Huh.
what we would have in like commercial buildings and stuff, like real heavy. Like that was like everything was really, really robust. The staircase that was in their house, like you could have convinced me that's the staircase I walk up a hotel like flight of stairs with. Their furniture, like when we were out in Hamburg, I went to sit down in this chair at this cafe, and I went to move the chair, and I just grabbed it with one hand, and I had my
Right.
coffee in the other hand. I couldn't move it with one hand. It was like it was probably an 85-pound chair,
Oh my God.
and everything was just like so robust and so well built. And I was asking Pastor Frieder about it, and he's like, "Yeah, like we take pride in like building our own stuff here. We don't import as much stuff as maybe y'all do." And like the idea, the like mentality there is like over here is you're supposed to just buy stuff once.
Huh.
So like we're kind of like, oh yeah, let's just get it cheap, and when it breaks, we'll buy another one. And
Right.
over there, like buy it expensive and it'll never break. And they just fix stuff immediately. And like we were after church, we were sitting in the lobby having coffee, and the table we were sitting at kind of had a wobble to it. They immediately flipped the table over and fixed it. Right then. They were like, "Oh, this table's wobbling. Let's fix it." Whereas we would just add
Right.
like another napkin under the
Yep.
leg,
Put
you know?
the towel under there.
Over there, like nothing was broken, and then everything was just really, really well built. I know it's kind of like a very. Whenever I told that to kids, she's like, "You would notice that. That would be that would be in your notes that you bring
Right.
home is
Yeah.
the
That's
build
awesome.
quality of stuff." But I just Yeah, I thought it was interesting,
Yeah.
and in contrast us, and then everything is so clean everywhere.
Hmm.
And people's homes are much cleaner than our homes. Their restrooms, anytime I was in a public restroom, it was just like really clean. Um, here like you go to the restroom
Oh God.
and you wash your hands.
It's a horror show half the time.
Right, right. Or, like even like a minor thing would be like you go to wash your hands, and then after you rinse, and then you're about to dry, like your hands go from the sink to wherever you're gonna dry, and they drip water on the counter.
Right.
So if you go into an American bathroom, there's like next to the sink, there's just water on the counter from dripping off people's hands.
Yeah.
Over there, they put a cloth right there on that spot, and it's expected that like you're gonna wipe the counter before you leave the public restroom.
Oh God.
And they were all so clean, and like because I walked into a clean restroom, if I dripped water on the counter, I would wipe it up. I never do that here.
Right.
But
Right.
over there, because you walk into a clean place, you gotta leave it clean. And so I would do it. And I'm
Wow.
like, why am I wiping this counter down? Oh, because like the precedent has been set. Which was, everything was clean. Whenever I was at the summit, I walked around outside for a little bit. There was a government employee with a like industrial vacuum cleaner, and he was vacuuming the parking lot.
The parking lot.
The parking lot. He was on a like y'all know what's that thing that cleans the ice, the Jamboni or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
something kind of like that. He rode on it, and he was just going around the parking lot, and it was just vacuuming up everything.
The
And it
parking
wasn't much
lot.
vacuum, but like here you can't walk more than like 50 feet without seeing cigarette butts or
Oh
like
yeah.
bottle caps or none of that. Like it was clean. And again, that goes back to if you're gonna take 50% of people's money for taxes, you better
Oh
you
yeah.
better have like some
There better
some
be
vacuum
utopia here.
parking lots. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that was kind of interesting. It's really well built. Everything's really really clean. Um,
That's wild.
Vehicle situation, kind of interesting. Of course, I would take note of it because I like vehicles.
Hmm.
I saw three trucks the whole time I was there, and all three of them were small trucks, like Ford Rangers. All three of them were Ford
Mm,
Rangers. Nothing bigger like an F-150 or any,
right.
God forbid, an F-250,
Yeah.
anything like that. Uh,
uh, mostly
Another
like
note,
smaller cars, or.
yeah, smaller cars, yeah. Not a whole lot of SUVs either, like full-size SUVs. They would be what we would call a crossover, if
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
Um, but everything had, for the most part, I would say 80% of the vehicles were hatchbacks.
Ah.
Because when you don't have a lot of SUVs, you need some sort of cargo space. And so having a typical sedan, uh, you don't have any of that cargo space. So almost everything had hatchbacks.
Hmm.
And then over here, like you don't see very many hatchbacks,
Oh yeah. No,
unless
hardly
unless
ever.
they're a crossover. But like, yeah. So, uh, yeah, I saw one American sports car, and even Pastor Frito was like, "Wow, we don't see those very often."
Ah.
Uh, But he said anytime you do see like an American, like a full-size truck or sports car or anything, it's typically an American military that's stationed over there.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense.
yep,
Everything's bigger here.
that's
Oh.
right.
Oh. Oh.
I would not ever want to have a truck over there. The parking garages, the parking spaces, the driving situation, everything is so tiny. If there was a couple times that we parked in a spot that if I had my truck over there, I couldn't even get to the spot, and if I got to the spot, I wouldn't be able to fit in it.
Mm.
But like the parking garages, like one of the parking garages was like the passenger mirror and driver mirror were like 4 inches away from the wall, and we're squeezing into this spot. And then you got to make a 90-degree turn that if I was in my truck, I would have had to do like an 82-point turn. It's just not built for that size of vehicles over there.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, whenever Pastor Chris showed them the vehicle he drives, which is a Ford Expedition, they said, "Oh, you drive a bus." So that's yeah, there's just different situation, I guess.
That's funny.
Also, I mean, one of the factors in that is that gas over there is so expensive
Yeah,
that
yeah. How can
having
you
a
afford the
big
truck?
vehicle like that, like, yeah, it's no joke. Yeah, I think I forgot what the rate was. I wanted to say it was around $20 a gallon, something like that.
Oof.
So
God.
it's just yeah,
two
you
hundred
want to be
dollars to
able.
fill up your tank. It's
Yeah,
only
it's just
10
crazy.
gallons even. Yikes.
Um, on a little deeper note, the men over there are very effeminate.
Oh.
and the women are very masculine.
Right,
By our term, by our
by
standards.
our standards, yeah. Well, give me an example of like the feminine
One
men.
second.
Sure.
What's the matter? Why are you coming in here with mischief on your face? Cream soda, good. Well done. Snickers. And the Twix? Okay.
You're not in Germany anymore.
I mean, I don't want to go halfsies. I just want one bite of whichever one you're going to eat. I don't want halfsies. That's too much. Did you win anything? You didn't win? Loser. Really? Don't even get me going. I'm going to get frustrated. How much money did they raise? Tell me, babe. You know what's annoying about it too? They charge kids to go to their program. How are they a nonprofit if they charge people to come to their program? And what did they raise? $100,000 tonight? Uh-huh. That's what I'm saying. Like, and they charge kids to come to their program. So how is it? I'm like weeks from being unemployed, and then this freaking organization is just raising money like that. That's wild. Freaking art center, $14 million, $12 million. Okay. Oh man, sorry to elaborate on that one. Right at 8. And then I forgot to give her medicine, so I had to go back in there and give it to her. No, she wasn't whining, but she was definitely like, she just got up and went and got her own passy and brought it back and then gave me the remote and said, Elsa, Anna. So I just put she controlled the shots tonight, but she ate well.
Did y'all watch
Right.
the challenge? Y'all caught up?
Yes, we are caught up. We watched last night's episode.
Oh, I didn't see last night's episode.
Yeah.
I got the
It's a
episode
banger.
before that. Oh my god! Can you? I mean, obviously you can say that without spoiling though. But what the hell is Olivia doing?
Okay, so I dug into this a little bit.
Okay, thank you,
Right?
Please,
God.
please,
What the
please.
John's like, John's like, see you on 10 minutes. Okay, so uh immediately so she was told by the rest of the alliance that you can't pick Nerys because then Nerys is gonna pick Horacio and
Right,
Kylan,
right.
and then we're screwed. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna do this, and then at the end we're gonna save Nerys still instead of Colleen, whatever it was.
Hmm.
Um, so Olivia was like promised that like even though you're not picking Nerys, she will still be saved, right? And then
Hmm.
the
And
group,
I guess Jay thought that as well, to a certain
right,
extent. He was crying afterwards that
right,
Nerys didn't get saved.
right. And so when it all went down,
Hmm.
Olivia asked um, TJ, can I switch with Nerys, please? And then TJ was like, no, you can't do that.
Of course not. Yeah.
And then she's like, this isn't what was supposed to happen. And then we see the part that we do see where he says to her, well, what did you think was going to happen?
Hmm.
So they cut out the part where like Olivia kind of tried to fall on the sword there and be like, guys, my bad. Like this isn't what I wanted. Let me take her spot type of deal. So she's definitely like getting the image of the villain in it, which is she does deserve.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But she kind of got set up
Right.
on that.
To a
So
certain extent. Yeah. To a certain extent.
to a certain extent, yeah.
Well, but that just kind of goes with this. That's been the thing with this whole game is that everyone's been playing. I can't believe people are still playing both sides, and we're on episode 16 or whatever. Like
Right.
how is Michelle over here like? Well, I guess I could vote for. I don't know if I could vote for Berna or I should vote for Mariah or Nerys, and it's like you gotta, we gotta pick at some point who you're gonna go with here. And it's just
Right.
bizarre to me that like Olivia the week before is kind of like, all right, I guess I'm Team Kylan and Horacio, and I'm gonna vote,
Mhm.
um, vote their way whenever the challenge stuff came around or whatever, and then now all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess I'm back on Team Michelle.
Right.
It's just So bizarre. Oh yeah, yeah. Obviously, this the show's interest to make her look like a
Hmm.
yeah, like Kylan said, either you're either an idiot, like this is either just like stupidity, or you knew what you were doing and this is
Right.
just evil almost.
Yeah. I mean, I think after watching last night's episode, she in some ways redeemed herself. Like she didn't. I don't think she was malicious. I think she was just naive enough
Dumb
to
enough
go
kind
along
of
with.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't forgive her in it.
Right.
Not that I need to forgive her. She's not asking for my forgiveness, but um, yeah.
Yeah, that
All
was
right.
just
So backtracking, the femininity.
yes.
Yes, for an example. So again, this is kind of like part of the reason I say this like I'm not saying that like they're in the wrong. I'm just saying that they're different than us.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, yeah,
one of the things like maybe you guys don't do anymore, but
yeah.
I sometimes catch myself doing is I'll see a guy, a person, a male, somewhere, and based on his mannerisms with his hands or his head, the way he's talking, I would jump to a conclusion like, oh, that guy's kind of fruity.
Yeah.
He might be gay just because of the mannerisms, right? I'm not saying that's the right thing, but that's just what would happen, right? So a lot of the guys that saw at this conference were that way. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, um, this conference is supposed to be like evangelical churches in Germany partnering with evangelical churches in America to do this sports camp. And I think every dude here is gay, right? And so, kind of like, man, what's going on? And then, like, we have a break, and then, like, every one of these, what looks to be gay dudes, are like holding their children and kissing their wives. And, like, I'm like, hold on, what's going on here? So I think like we have connected just some like mannerisms with like feminine mannerisms with maybe homosexuality,
Right.
where over there those feminine mannerisms haven't like they don't have that negative perception on them, and so like guys will just sit with their legs crossed, and guys will talk a little bit more with their hands over there,
Mhm.
or like just be a little bit like we would call it flamboyant. And over there, it's just normal.
Mhm.
So that was kind of an interesting deal. Um, and there's some times where like even I catch myself where I'll do something or I'll say something, and I'll be like, man, that sounded kind of gay,
Right.
or
Yeah.
that may have looked kind of gay,
Yeah.
like. But
Yeah.
over there, like you can just do that, and nobody can be like, "Oh, that was kind of gay," because everybody does it. Everybody just like just does that, right? And for me, it's mostly like in language. Sometimes I'll fall into a habit of saying the word like a lot, like,
Yeah.
and it's just Kayla will like call me on it, like keep saying like a lot. Dude, stop doing that. You sound like a middle school girl, right? Keep saying like over and over. But over there, it's like they don't critique it as much, and it's just normal. And it made me now that I'm over here, now I see people acting feminine or flamboyant. I'm kind of pumping the brakes on jumping to that conclusion. Maybe it's just somebody that's just how they act,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
completely fine. And I need to stop just thinking that means they're gay. Um,
Yeah.
so,
And then
and
the
then
women. So yeah, tell me
the
about the
women,
women.
yeah. So the women are the opposite in the sense that they're just a little bit more feminine, and than our women are. Um, they
Masculine, you
don't
mean?
wear. Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Sorry,
fine.
masculine. They don't wear makeup,
Oh, wow.
hardly at all. Um, at least the ones I was around,
Right,
right?
right, right. Yeah.
Even being out in Hamburg, a city of 2 million, we're walking around, and Pastor Frieder told me, like, hey, do you know how you can tell the difference between the German women and the foreigners? I said, how? He said, they have makeup on.
Huh.
And I put it to the test, and sure enough, every time there was a woman that either had like highlights in her hair or makeup or just looked kind of like our American women do, I would listen, and they had like, yeah, they were speaking English, they were speaking Spanish, they were speaking not German. And then every time there was just like a kind of butch looking woman, like he's got the Gonta. Yeah. And I mean, it was very true of the host home we were in. Like she was very much that way. It was very true of the church we were at on Sunday morning, and it was just like there's not a whole lot of effort that they like emphasize on like keeping like the work of getting your nails done, of getting your hair highlighted, buying all this money on Sephora makeup or whatever. Like they just not a priority on that over there. Um, and so I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like
Yeah.
here, you can't drive to work or anywhere without passing a salon, right?
Oh yeah.
Or a side of the road Asian nail place, or like you can't our in our supermarkets you have like 5 aisles of makeup at a general like there's a Walmart. You have all this makeup. You have all like there's such a like priority put on all that, and then over there it's just not. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So the women were Uggs, or were they pretty?
I wouldn't say they were ugly by any means. I just
Different.
it just
How about hair? Was like hair kind of
no
just more
just
casual, or not really
yeah
like
no
done up kind of
not
thing?
not a person I saw not a German person I saw had their hair done.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, on Sunday morning I needed to walk from their flat to the church, which is like a 5 minute walk, but it was very
Mm,
windy. And I took a shower, and usually after I get out of the shower, I put a little bit of um, just cream in my hair to keep it to stay to the
mhm.
left, right? But I didn't take any of it with me over there because I didn't want to get caught, with it and it make the
Right.
3 ounces or less, right? And I couldn't find this stuff in that small of a container, so I'm just like, whatever, I'll find something over there. So here it is Sunday morning, and I'm like, well, I don't have any of that. I'm about to have to make a walk in the wind. Let me just look underneath her vanity and
Oh
get some of
boy.
her hairspray, right?
Oh
This woman
boy.
doesn't own hairspray. She doesn't have any hairspray. There
Uh.
was none of that. No gel, no spray, nothing. And I wasn't gonna go like through it. Like I'm not gonna search the house or whatever. But she didn't have that. And then she also didn't have like a blow dryer in there. She didn't have makeup. She didn't have any of that. And that was just kind of the theme the rest of the day. And like, yeah, they're just the hair. It's just however it is when you woke up. You kind of push it to the side, it goes naturally, and that's how your day is. And there was a couple guys in there at the church service that looked like they just rolled out of bed. Their hair was all over the place, and I'm just like, at least put a hat on. Um, but it's just, I guess physical appearance isn't that big of a deal.
Interesting. Interesting. Hmm.
And it was like clear as day. Like as soon as we landed in London, I mean the complete opposite. London International,
Mhm.
Gucci store, perfume,
Mhm.
cologne store, all these like designer stores, this and that, and then all the people there are just like got $100 of makeup on,
Mhm.
$200 fingernails, all like these designer clothes, everything, and it's like okay, we're no longer in Germany. All these people are really, really worried about what they look like.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when I mean it was obviously 2006 now, but I remember going to London and I was kind of like obviously the architecture was different and like
Hmm.
kind of like the setup of the roads, the driving on the wrong side of the road, all that. But in general, like the culture of the city was kind of like, oh yeah, we're just kind of. I mean, we're in a. I mean, at that point, it's probably the biggest city I've ever been in, but we're in like a big American city. They have designer
Right.
stores. They have a lot of shopping areas. They have restaurants. They have it didn't seem like it was like they have cars. Like it didn't seem like it was. I mean, obviously it was different, but obviously they're all speaking English. It's pretty similar.
Pretty similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's crazy. Yeah, then you take the 2 hour trip to Germany. That's like a whole different world.
Yeah.
Ay, ay. But what do you think of Italy? How did that? Is this any of this ringing a bell with Italy for you, Bear, or Poland, or?
I didn't really stay with people. It's always in the touristy areas, so it's kind of
Mm,
hard to compare. The Polish town is probably the only place I went to that was not um touristy.
Right.
Um, and it was at a wedding, so everyone had some makeup on. So,
Mm, mm.
but
Italy in general, there was people had their hair done and kind of stuff like that.
yeah, but I mean, we're people are there's as many Chinese people as there are Italians there.
Right, right.
Where you were?
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause you're surrounded by tourists, right?
yeah. So, um,
Well, you went to Rome though, so there's just like a million people there, just in general.
yeah, yeah.
Not all of them
We
are
go to the
tourists.
Colosseum, and there's all these Chinese people. I'm like, what? I thought I was in Italy. The Chinese have invaded Rome? Huh.
The Mongol invasion. What? Okay,
uh,
so but y'all knew they were Chinese. Y'all just was like, oh, these are just like Asian people. Like they were specifically Chinese.
I mean, what? I mean, if it were Chinese or Korean, would I have known? I mean, they look Chinese.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I mean,
They
I
weren't
would assume
Cambodian.
they were Chinese. They were not Cambodian. I would assume they would be Chinese. By the sheer number of them, I would have to go.
China.
Oh gosh. Uh,
Oh, that's funny.
um,
that's awful.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'd definitely go Chinese. But yeah, Poland was more quiet, I would say.
Hmm.
Even in the capital we were in, Warsaw, I mean, it was just very quiet everywhere. I don't even know. I mean, there were roads and minor highways, but nothing like it is here.
Right.
Hmm.
And then you'd go outside the city, and it's like just a bunch of farms and like what do y'all grow out here? Apparently, I tell you, there's
Potatoes?
a lot of apple trees there. Apparently,
Oh yeah.
so it's like they
Apples.
make a lot of apple pie. I'm like, I thought that was an American thing. Nope. Apparently, apple trees are good in that climate.
I guess
Ain't
so.
nothing American. It's all stolen.
Ain't nothing new. The only thing that's not stolen is fast food.
We made that, damn it. We
Yes, we
made
made
that.
this.
And we're proud of it.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, and it was at a hotel. I mean, the beds were yeah, it was like more of a local hotel. Like it wasn't even that nice. But um,
You must have picked it.
yeah, but yeah, I guess now as you mention it, I don't think I recall seeing outside of the wedding any makeup on people.
Interesting. Yeah, there you go. But the Italian
Have you
people.
been?
What about the Italian people that you saw? Like you
Oh,
could
they were
tell
great.
they were Italian.
Yeah, I mean, you
How'd
can
they
tell like
look?
the people working there,
Right.
the, they were great.
Makeup, all that.
Yeah, damn, I lost a Man U based off of a penalty.
Oh.
God dang it. Can't catch a break.
That is tough.
Uh, um, oh yeah, the Italians were handsome and good-looking people.
Boys and girls.
Very fashionable, I would say.
Mm,
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say that other than the like European handbags, they weren't very feminine. I would say
mm.
normal. I mean, they're not like truck country,
Right. Yeah, like
you
our
know,
Texan.
Right, right.
F-150 tobacco chewing guys, but
Mullet.
bull riding guys. It was, but uh, they weren't necessarily
There was a
feminine.
time. There was a time about a month ago, 2 months ago now. Whenever my father-in-law broke his hip, we were downtown Corpus,
Mm.
because we had just taken him dinner to the hospital, and then afterwards we wanted to eat, so we went and ate somewhere in downtown Corpus near Spa and Shoreline. And so we're down at Mesquite Street Pizza Company in downtown Corpus, and across the street from that is a banquet center type deal,
Huh.
that can host. We do some events there a couple times a year, but it's just kind of a smaller venue for maybe 200 or 300 people. And that night, I don't know exactly what the venue was or what the event was, per se, but I what I know is we were across the street, and there was a lot of people coming over to eat that were also at that same venue, and every one of them like was you some was wearing a pride flag or
Mm.
like whatever was going on across the street was within that culture, right? And so I can just tell by the mannerisms, like, man, what's going on there? And then I start looking around. I'm like, okay, there's got to be some sort of you know, get together going on across the street, right? But it was just evident by the people that were sharing the restaurant with me that, like, all right, everybody here is a little bit more feminine or flamboyant.
Mhm.
No big deal, right? But I connected the dots that it was connected to some festival going
Mhm.
on. Well, that is how it was in Germany everywhere I went, and these
There was
people
no
had
festival.
wives and children and families, and it was just kind of more normal there. And so it's yeah,
That's crazy.
mm.
Yeah.
Which is like there's a kind of like Kayla's cousin. You remember the Fosters? No, not the Fosters. The Williams, Lauren Williams and Samantha Williams.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, they were closer to your age, maybe a year above
Yeah.
you. They're in like you remember Ben Setterbo?
Mhm.
One of them married a Setterbo. Anyway,
Ah.
Samantha married this guy, Jonathan. And whenever Kayla and I first started dating, I told Kayla, I was like, hey, your cousin Samantha's husband is gay. And she was like, he can't be gay. They're married. I'm like, no, look at him. He's gay.
Look at him.
And still to this day, like when I'm around him, I'm like, man, so interesting. But he's definitely not gay. They have like 4 kids together, and he's not
Right.
gay.
Right.
But like in my naivety, I just saw like he wears like hats like fedoras all the time,
Oh
and then he's
gosh.
just kind of like you know feminine in a lot of ways. So I'm like, this dude's just gay, and he's not. And he would fit right in over there.
Mhm.
He'd fit right in.
Yeah,
So
it's good. It's crazy. Hmm.
yeah. Other things to note. Got a list, like I said. Uh, Cussing is just so common over there. And I know
Cussing?
cussing, yeah, cussing's very
Ah.
common over here as well, but only in certain settings. Like if you know you're gonna go to the bar, you're gonna hear a lot more cussing. If you're around like juveniles, you're just gonna hear more
Yeah,
cussing,
yeah.
that sort of thing. But, like you're not gonna like both of y'all's workplace. Like it would be pretty
Mhm.
inappropriate to just like in a casual conversation in the break room be cussing, you know?
Yep.
But over there, like this dude during the church service, like he, it wasn't like he's like, sorry if the music's not very loud. Usually it's loud as shit. And I was like, we're in church, we're in the Lord. And then and while in the same building, I heard a hell, I heard an ass, I heard like. And what it means to me isn't that they're like heathens and cussing. What it means is they just don't view it as a cuss
Right.
word. Like, they don't view it as like something inappropriate or vulgar. It's just another word. Um, but each time it happened, like happening at a dinner table with this like couple that's 60 years old, and then they just like let one drop. And what it wasn't no f bombs, nothing like actual vulgar cuss words, but just like I don't know other things that generally like if you just heard it from like a 6-year-old woman's mouth, you'd be like, "What did you just say?" So that was it. Free college, which I knew that was a thing over there. They get free college, free healthcare. That's just part of
Fifty
being in a
percent
country like that.
taxation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very prompt. Like if they say something starts at this time, they mean it.
Mm.
Pastor Frieder after church, before we went into Hamburg, he's like, "Can I get a little nap?" It was like almost 2 o'clock, and he's like, "We'll leave it at 2:30." And then I'm like, all right, cool. So we just went upstairs, hung out for a bit, and then came down about 30 minutes later. and we're standing in the living room, and it's like 2:28. So it's like, all right, this is pretty much 2:30, right? Let's go ahead and load up. Nope, he wasn't loading up yet. And then it hits like 2:29, and I'm still kind of like, all right, guys, we can go ahead and go now. And then he has his phone in his hand, and as soon as it hits 2:30, so as soon as it hits 2:30, he shows us his phone. He goes, all right, 2:30, let's go. And it was just like that way with everything. Like they were very, very precise about it. And that could be some of being in a city because like if you rely on public transit as much as they do, the timing of all the public transit, like if your train leaves at 2:17, it leaves at 2:17. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they were as prompt. But they were very just like prompt on their timing. It's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I did not see in the entire time I was there. I did not see an overweight person. Well, maybe there was somebody overweight, but I didn't see an obese person.
Right, right, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mentioned that to y'all already. And a part of that is they don't have much sugar like in their food. I
Yeah.
think
If that's
their
dinner,
soda,
then
like
sheesh.
their soft drinks are government regulated as far as like if you I have a drink I'm drinking right now, 290 calories. Oh man, that's terrible. Um, the same drink over there would be like a third of that. And the amount of sugars in it would be very, very limited. Um, and even the dessert one, I was like, they made us brownies at that summit, and I was like, oh, a brownie that looks so good. It wasn't. It was not good. There was hardly any sugar in that brownie, and it was just like they had cake as well. And I'm like, man, that also looks good. It wasn't very good. It was just my addiction to sugar really was evident.
Right,
Uh,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, they just don't use a whole lot of sugar in much, except for their coffee. But even then, they don't. They drink it pretty dark.
Hmm.
Debt. They don't really have debt. Uh, Pastor Chris referenced like credit cards and debt in his sermon, and the guy in front of me like leaned over and he says, "Yeah, that's an American thing." I'm like, "What? We don't we don't have debt. We just buy stuff that we can afford. We have access to credit cards, but nobody really has one."
Uh-huh.
And he said it's because one, we don't want debt, and two, we don't like to use credit cards or debit cards. We like to use cash. That way the government can't track us. Which paints a picture back to like a deeper like issue there where they're still like they don't trust their own government still. And I don't know
Right.
how much of that is like things that have happened in their lifetime or things that have happened in their great great grandparents' lifetime, but they're still like, yeah, we would just rather pay in cash. And everywhere we went, the people, our host family that bought us
Uh-huh.
like the meals and coffee, like every time they paid in cash. And all the other people were paying in cash. And over here, you would never see that. And when I asked about it, it was like, yeah, we don't want to be tracked. We don't want them to know where we were at for lunch today. I'm like, dude, they know.
They
Okay, they have
already know, dude.
CCTV. Like, you're microchipped, man. Like,
Yep. Type
um,
type on your phone there real quick for me.
yeah. Another thing is everybody works over there. Like, there's not like a stay-at-home mom isn't an option over there.
Mm.
Everybody works. You work until you retire. Even the woman that we were staying with, she's like 61 and she still works a full-time job and she always has. Um, and she's like, I asked about stay-at-home mom. She's like, no, we get up to 2 years of like maternity leave per child.
Oh
That
God.
that's when you get to be a stay-at-home mom. And
Two
once that
years.
you use that time up, like that's it, you know. And so after that time's out, you just go back to work. Um, and they just thought it was kind of interesting that like a large part of our country just is stay-at-home moms.
Mhm.
They don't have that over there.
That's
Maybe some of like the more upper class might, but the people we were interacting with, they didn't
right.
really subscribe to that concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they get 2 years, and so you can split it up. Either the husband can take like 6 months, and the wife can take 18, or the wife can take 20 and the husband can take 4 or whatever. But you get up to 2 years of leave. The first year is fully paid, and then the second year is like 70% of salary. Um,
Good
but
God.
it's still pretty dang substantial.
Yeah, I think Karen has her job is you get 2 weeks
Yeah, yeah,
and you're
yeah,
expected to go back. So
yeah. That's
figure out
crazy.
childcare, figure out trying to recover, figure that out, or and if you don't come back, then we're gonna have to let you go.
Yep, yep. Kayla, as a teacher, got 6 weeks of paid maternity leave and then 6 weeks of unpaid, but we can't fire you.
Mm.
And then after those 12 are up, like you just
Oh god.
yeah.
Are you
After that,
telling
like
me Citibank has the best maternity
Maternity
leave out
leave.
of all that we have? Uh,
That's a sad day. That's a sad day for us.
yeah.
What does City have?
6 months.
What? The,
6 months.
are they hiring? I've got a pregnant wife.
What the hell?
When does that? What's the probationary period on that? We got 4 months
Damn.
here.
I don't know. I think it's like I don't know. I have to look it up.
Sheesh.
But yeah, I would get 6 months, and since we both work for City, she would also get 6 months. And the thing is, you had to use it within the first year of the child being born.
Mhm.
So she could
Mm.
do the first 6 months, and I can do the second 6 months.
That'd be
And
epic.
we can potentially be off, one of us off the entire first year.
Yeah,
Paid, completely paid.
that's incredible. Good for City.
Yeah, that's
I
insane.
think it's 6 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, check my employee handbook.
So that's like of my notes. That's it of like the kind of like surface level minor things that I saw. But like digging a little bit deeper, one of the things that I thought was just I haven't fully been able to wrap my mind around it or process it still,
Mm.
is the lack of self-awareness for the average German citizen of what happened 80 years ago.
Mm.
Um, we, we were Sunday night. We were having dinner. I think it was Sunday night. Might have been Saturday night. And Pastor Chris asked like if there's still any like anti-Semitism going on.
I'd love to see how they broach that subject.
Well, he didn't ask he didn't ask it like that, but he just asked, is
I
there
love how he
any
played that
is
up.
there
It's a like that'd be a
well,
balancing act right there. They.
well since we're like sitting with somebody that we kind of gotten to know, that's
Right,
better
right,
than
right.
a stranger. But
True,
he asked it like, is there like any racism in Germany?
true.
Like, does Germany have any like issues with race? And then from there, Pastor Frieder kind of like, well, right now we have a lot of refugees from Ukraine and Russia because of the war, um, but they don't look a lot different than Germans, so it's hard to even tell. So people don't really discriminate them because they can't tell like that they're refugees. Um, but he's like, not really. And then so Pastor Chris asked like, is there still like a pretty like what how a pretty large like population of Jews in Germany? He goes, no,
No,
not really.
they're all
No.
done.
He goes, no,
Jesus.
not really. Well, then Annette, his wife, she asked this question,
Mm.
um, just straight up. She asked, "Have y'all ever heard of Adolf Hitler?"
Oh my God.
And I almost dropped my food in my mouth.
Have
He's
we?
a celebrity. You
We,
studied him? He's just been on TV over here. We have movies.
Oh,
well,
oh yeah,
dude,
we know more about him than you do.
and that's that. And I don't know if it was like a shot at us. Like, I know it's like the butt of a lot of jokes that Americans are stupid. So I don't know if
Right.
she was thinking that I'm just dumb enough to not know, or if she thinks he's just like this Wild Wild West Ted Bundy guy. It's like, no, we know about your guy. We know about what happened. But she honestly like she was asking it sincerely, like, have you ever heard of this? And then I'm like, yeah, we have. And then she asked like, have you ever heard about the this thing that happened called the Holocaust? And we're like, I
Uh-huh.
don't I don't want to just go into like, yeah, dude, we know your secrets. So I kind of played like not full stupid, but I'm kind of like, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
we learned about it a little bit in our school. And like it was just kind of mind blowing to me that there's like not a like a self-awareness to know that the whole world knows. Like
Wow.
this lady, she's 60, right? So, World War II is 80 years ago, right?
Right.
The back end of it was. And so
Yeah. She'd be
her
aware. Yeah.
grandparents would have been like very much there in the middle of it, right? And so it's just crazy to me that this woman whose grandparents lived through World War II um, doesn't have enough of a self-awareness to realize that the whole world knows about Adolf Hitler and knows about the Holocaust, and we know, like, this isn't. She told us about him the same way I would tell the Alamo story, like a somebody like
Mm.
like the Santa Ana guy came, and then these guys, these good old boys from Tennessee came over, and we did like a 1v100, and we almost pulled it off, right?
Yeah.
But like she was telling us the story as if we didn't know, when it's like one of the biggest pieces of world history in the last 1,000 years, like as far as you know changing the landscape of the world. It's crazy. It was just
Yeah.
crazy to
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
how not self-aware she was. Well, then, so that was Saturday night. So then the next day, it's Sunday, is when we went into Hamburg. And before going to Hamburg, I did a little bit of research on it, and just to kind of like just get caught up to what role or what happened in Hamburg specifically during the war. And it got freaking leveled, man.
Mm.
That city got heavily bombed by Allied troops, mostly British troops,
Mhm.
and like there's some like some recordings that um, there was like a 3 mile high fire tornado over Hamburg for almost a week
Mm.
because of how heavily it was bombed. And like 80% of all structures were completely leveled. Very little things are left standing. Um, like 40,000 people died. It was one of the more heavily bombed cities in all of Germany, right? And so, well, because it's the biggest port in
Mhm.
Germany, one of the biggest ports in all of Europe, and it is only an hour and 10-minute plane ride from
Right.
London. So because of its proximity, like you got to take that bad boy out, right? So here we are the next day, and we're walking around Hamburg, and I'm not, I'm making sure to not be disrespectful, right? But
Yeah.
I'm curious about some things, and so they show us this really old church there, and I asked like, when was this church built? What's it from? And like, oh, it was built in 1600 or whatever. And I was like, oh, did it survive the World War? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, well, I can tell you. It did it.
I did not. I
And
don't
and I can
know.
tell, like, I can tell they weren't deflecting from the conversation and it wasn't offending them, or
Right.
she just didn't know, right? And so later we were walking around in another area, and I was like, how much of this area was like, damaged or destroyed in the war? And she goes, I really don't know actually. I don't know how many of these buildings were from before the war or after the war. And again, it's like I can tell you, none of them, right? And it was just kind of like I'm still trying to process through that of like how they're so unaware of their own history.
Mm.
And I guess it makes sense because, by the way, I'm getting the glitch where I can't load into this match. Um, but
Yeah,
it
me
uh
too.
it was it was interesting on that, and I get it because I would assume that with the history that dark, um,
Oh yeah.
it's not going to be something like we spent a whole year learning
Just
about. I
save
can't
there, bear.
imagine. I can't imagine that they were going to spend a whole lot of time in their curriculum just going through the ins and outs of that. Um, but at the same time, like I would imagine they would shed a little bit more light on it, so they're not just in the dark.
That's crazy. And the husband there didn't have anything to add either.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was in the conversation too, and he kind of gives this like look on his face of like, I don't know. Like wasn't just like I'm not allowed to talk about it. It was like
Right.
I really
I
don't
literally
know.
don't know.
I don't know the answers to that. And whereas like we all pretend to be like history, geniuses on everything, but like we do have a decent idea of like at least what we think happened. And
Right.
for them, they didn't even have an idea of like how things kind of went down. And that was just kind of shocking to me.
Wow. Yeah. That is shocking.
Like their grandparents lived through it. Like my
Yeah.
grandparents have told me some stories over the years about like, you know, working out on the for the electrical union, and then his first pickup truck, and like they just sit down and tell me stories of their like childhood and upbringing. At no point did their grandparents sit them down and be like, "Hey, this is what's going." I guess it was such a. I get for me
Dramatic thing, yeah.
it was that bad that they
Yeah.
don't even talk about it.
Don't even think about it. Don't think
'Cause, like
about it. Talk about it.
the Civil War was bad, right? But like
Yeah.
it wasn't so bad that we won't talk about
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I
it.
think also we're yeah. I don't know. Like you said, it's a different culture. Yeah, it's like that was the worst civil war of any civil war is our civil war.
Right.
Most deaths of any civil war is our civil war.
Yeah.
But
Hey, we gotta hold the record.
number one.
How many people died in the American Civil War?
Oh God, that's a great question. I'd love to look that up. Has to be in the
Because okay,
over
so
a
six hundred
million, I would
twenty
assume.
thousand.
Oh,
It says 600. I mean, death and dying.
right.
NPS.gov, National Park Service.gov. That's interesting. Um,
Hmm.
they're the ones that hold that, but History Channel or History.com reports the same number. So then we have American Battlefield Trust, which estimates 1.5 million casualties. So,
Yeah, I would have said a million, but that's just me.
so from 620,000 to
Right.
1.5 million is our spectrum here at our range. Um, Germans, including Jews that died in
God.
death camps in uh, World War II, was like somewhere around 30 million,
Right.
I think, something like that. 'Cause I think it was 11 million Jews, right, that
Yep.
were killed, and then another 20 million or so German, either civilians or troops, because a lot of civilians died, obviously. So I think like as brutal as and dark as our Civil War is, I think the full context and gravity of the Second World War, especially in Germany, really, really uh, is dark enough that they won't even talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, it's tough to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, obviously, we're. Luckily for us, so far, we've been pretty good. I mean, and it's similar even with Vietnam. Like, you don't hear a lot about.
Mm,
We do not we do not glorify the Vietnam War, which is like really the only war that you could, quote unquote, we lost. We
right.
hear about World War II. We hear about the Civil War because we won technically, even though it's against ourselves. We hear about American Revolution. We hear about the Texas War. Like, hey, we're the winners, yeah. But yeah, it's even
Right.
like I think there's especially to that extent that 30 million people die and cities are leveled. And like I had to really dig and try to find stuff about Vietnam to kind of even learn about it at all. It wasn't
Okay.
just like, oh yeah, so what was this about? What happened exactly? So I think that's
Interesting.
definitely a part of it too. But yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy though. That is
Mm,
crazy. And I think it is too.
yeah.
Ugh.
And then the last thing is that like in some of my conversations with some people, um, there's a pretty healthy chunk of people in Germany that truly, truly do believe that current America is about 100 years behind where Germany is currently, not from like an economic standpoint, but like politically. Like they do believe that we are 10 to 20 years away from like mass persecuting and having a Hitler type situation.
Mm,
And they don't believe like I mean, I know there's the whole narrative that like Donald Trump is Hitler type
right.
of deal, or is to us what Hitler was to Germany. They didn't insinuate that, but like they do believe that like in some of my conversations that we are flying as close to the sun as they were in the early 1900s.
Yeah. Uh. Eh, I can understand why they would say that, but obviously it's a very different. I think as long as our, I mean, it's sad to say, but as long as our economics are still good, then it's going to be
Right.
hard for someone, even Trump, to what he's been able to do. Um, but it's going to be hard for someone because like that's kind of where Hitler comes from, is that they just devastated after World War One, too, which they had a bunch of people die there. It was basically like them against everybody, and they
Right.
did a pretty good job. But of course, they eventually war of attrition. They eventually lose, and then we just kind of the Allied powers just kind of put these sanctions on them. That's like, yeah, man, I know we're taking about like 30 to 40% of your revenue for the next 20 years, like the Treaty of Versailles there. And so they're just like full poverty from 1914 to 19 or for 20 years there till the 30s, where it's like, okay, we've had enough of this. We're living, our kids are dying from starvation. We can't hardly afford anything, and you're just giving the money to England and France. And then here comes Hitler. Let's do something about it.
Right.
And here we are. So I think but I think like a lot of that is because the economics kind of led to that, and I think obviously we're the richest country in the world still, so, and we've taken steps to kind of be more independent in our production of resources and stuff like that. So I think
Right.
try to depend,
I guess
but I can see how they say that. I can see why they say that though.
yeah. I guess I find it hard, like, and maybe I'm just naive and I have my eyes closed, but I just find it hard to believe, like, I don't know, our nation at large would like live through a time in which 10 million people are persecuted and killed.
Yeah.
And we just like let it happen right under our nose, like, and some people say, oh no, it's happening right now with the border crisis, right? Like, people are dying by the thousands of thousands,
Mm-hmm.
which, they're starving in these border camps or whatever, and that's the same thing as the Holocaust or whatever. And it's like, I mean,
Well,
I'm not there yet, but
yeah.
I guess that's what they're saying, like
Right.
we're that close to just like annexing all of Mexico and just killing everybody.